rained out. And yes, I was in that slam. Slow, loud, and banging. I know the definition of a slam. But while I have the floor, I also want to make reference to something that I did on Sunday night, and that is that I had the opportunity to attend the birthday celebration for David Mitzner, who turned 100 years old. He is a Holocaust survivor. He raised a family, built a business here, and his firm is actually the one that's building the new Marriott Marquis, which will be our second convention center hotel. But it was really cool to celebrate 100th birthday for someone who is very, very fit and very active and engaged in community. So I want to wish David Mitzner a very happy 100th birthday, and to say that I'm so sorry that I missed the wrestling exhibition. It was a black tie event, and they had a WWF wrestling exhibition to in the evening. I couldn't stay for that, so happy birthday. I want to address an issue that's been coming up repeatedly, and that is the issue of Uber's operations in the city of Houston. We have an ordinance in place. It is a fair and reasonable ordinance, and it focuses on insurance, appropriate insurance, and the appropriate level of background checks for criminal violations. The ordinance allows drivers to operate legally on the Uber app, and we have a couple thousand drivers who are operating legally, and they have the city decal. Apparently, there are hundreds more drivers out there, maybe even thousands more drivers, who Uber has allowed to come onto their app. Uber knows that they are operating. Uber has the complete ability to not allow them to operate by simply cutting them off their app, who aren't registered with the city. Because Uber drivers, most of them are part-time drivers, they're using their own vehicles. I know how devastating it would be if the city of Houston impounds their personal vehicle because the company they have chosen to work for won't do the right thing. Now, the drivers have a responsibility to come in to comply. I fully believe that Uber informs those drivers as to what the appropriate action is, and the drivers do have a responsibility on their own, but Uber is the controlling entity, and Uber, with a few keystrokes, could say, look guys, you're not gonna be able to drive for us unless you go take care of the paperwork at the city. It's even more frustrating to be confronting this issue in Austin. I understand completely why Uber would like to have a state-by-state policy that governs their ability to operate. It makes sense. That state policy should have an appropriate level of insurance for the entire time that person is operating as a vehicle for hire. And it should have the requirement for a criminal background check so that people who use the services are protected. And cities who, for whatever reason, choose to have more stringent ordinances should be allowed to do that. That is the basis of our state law for decades, and the ability of home rule cities to do their own laws. We can't be less stringent than state law, but we can be more so. Uber likes to pretend that if there are drivers operating without local permits, that it's either beyond their control, which is just patently absurd, or it's because there's some fault on the part of the city in terms of the permitting process. You can come in and in a day take care of everything. This is not weeks sitting in an office waiting for something to happen. Actually, you can come in a matter of hours, make something happen. It's not a long and onerous process. And we had not been asked, but we are, in order to make it abundantly clear that we want all drivers to be able to come in and register, we will have evening hours on a monthly basis for people to come in, non-business hours, non-standard business hours, to make it as easy as possible for compliance. But make no mistake, as I said earlier this week, we have authorized overtime. I have instructed the Administration and Regulatory Affairs Division of the city to go out and cite cars, impound cars. If going after the drivers is the only way to get Uber's attention, that is what we will have to do in order to keep our citizens safe. I did send a formal letter over to Uber asking them to respond as to why they are not working with us to comply with local ordinance, and with a deadline to respond back by Friday of this week. I look forward to hearing from Uber. The ball has been in their court all along.